Mm.
But my first song that I ever recorded was a Christian version of In the Club called In the Church. Yeah.
Real Talk with Star Scorpio Season 7. My guest today is a man of many talents. He doesn't know this, but besides my daughter's friend Victoria, my business partner, inspiring me to do this show, this podcast, he was the one that got my creative juices flowing because of something he said to me. He's a content creator, recording artist, screenwriter, actor, you name it. We're going to have to learn a lot about him today. So let's get into this. GQ, welcome to Real Talk with Star Scorpio. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, man. I cannot complain. Cannot complain. And it doesn't do any good to complain anyway. So all is well. All is well on this side.
You got it. Thanks for doing this. The people don't know this, so anyone that's listening or watching, they don't know. We planned this. We've been planning this for a while, but you had some sad news. I think we were supposed to do it in November or December,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you had some
Yeah,
sad
yeah.
news. You want to just share that?
Yeah. No, I had a family member pass at around the time. I don't know. I don't remember if it was the day before, or the day of
Mhm.
that we were supposed to have the interview. But I had a family member pass that was very close to the family, so I was not in a good place, and I literally forgot every appointment I had for the next, I think, 2 3 weeks, and that included this interview. And I felt so bad afterward because then when I went into my inbox and saw the missed call, I was like, oh man, we're supposed to do that interview.
Mhm.
So yeah, I felt really bad, but uh, I think maybe the timing just wasn't good because even if I did remember, I didn't want to bring that heavy, depressed energy to the interview either. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So um, I think it was a blessing in disguise of the break between then and now to now be in a better place to have this interview with you again.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm sorry for your loss. I remember as soon as you messaged me why you couldn't make it, I was like, there's no question. Like, this is aside from that, time to be with the family. But yeah, I believe things happen for a reason. So you would have been on like season 5 or something, but now 7, I'm more into it now. So I'm
fun fact, seven is actually my favorite number. So I don't know if
oh,
that means anything.
there
I don't
you
know if that
go.
means anything, but hey
Yes.
man. So
All right. All right. And just for a little aside too, the people don't know we met on this app called Rizzle. And I really appreciate Rizzle for what it did to me at that time. It was lockdown, COVID. And I found this app, and you were one of I would say the champions, the leaders on that app, and in my respect. And you motivated me to do a lot. And in my intro, I was saying you motivated me to do the podcast. So the people don't know the reason I started the podcast is I wanted to give back. That's why I donate to charities. And I wanted to talk to people and share stories. And I was doing comedy for a while, so I want to incorporate that. And you said something to me about because I was on Rizzle just to do one thing and just make conversation with people. And then once you heard that I did comedy, you said you can do that too. There's nothing stopping you. You know what I mean?
you can have a whole totally separate channel for comedy and then your other channel for the other stuff you want to do.
Yes, yes. And I like the way your brain thinks. We're gonna get into this, but on Real Talk, we like to build a timeline. So let me know first, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Manhattan, New York on March 22nd, 1987.
Very.
I was a month and a half premature with the umbilical cord around my neck and the waist sack over my face. So needless to say, I was all screwed up.
Wow.
I was all screwed up. And then shortly before I was born, my mother was in a car accident. So there was already concerns of if I was going to be okay when I was born.
Mm.
So, but once again, God is good because I'm here. So
Wow.
yeah.
God is good. Praise the Lord for that. So you were told the story at what age? Because you're telling me this. What
Mhm.
age did your mom tell you what
I was
happened?
told, I was told like in my early teens, because around that time I started to do music at around 15, 16,
Mhm,
and I needed some facts to tell people who I was to kind of introduce myself.
mhm.
So my mother and father told me everything that I went through from labor to now.
Wow.
Um, I think when I was like six, we were living in New York at the time. I think I was like, no, I don't think I was six. I was very young, and I was playing near a window. Something told me to move away from the window, and seconds later, a bullet went through that window.
Wow.
Shortly after that, the decision was made to move down to Florida.
Wow. And in
So,
Manhattan, what part of Manhattan though? Because I'm from Toronto and we've
see
been
now
to New York. Yeah.
that's a question you're gonna have for my father, because he knows way more details in terms of the exact city that I was in
Mhm,
when everything took place. But all I remember is Manhattan. I was born in Manhattan, and I think we lived in Queens for a little bit before
mhm.
moving down. So, but I don't know like the specific cities by name. I just know like broad details.
Okay. You know what's crazy? I think I was telling you before we started recording, most of my dad's side of the family is in New York. So the Bronx and Brooklyn, and we must have in Queens, but Brooklyn is where everyone lives. And when my wife and my daughter, when we went up there I went up there with my dad when I was younger, but when we went up there the second time, I didn't know how big the city was because I didn't really tour the city when I went. I went to Coney Island and
Mhm.
I actually saw Coming to America in
Oh
Brooklyn.
wow.
It was crazy because Eddie Murphy's my guy. But GQ, I gotta tell you, when we were in Manhattan and staying at the hotel, I didn't realize how big Manhattan was. So we wanted to go to Harlem, and I didn't want to take the subway. I don't know, it was something against the subway. So we walked from Midtown Manhattan, I don't know what you call it, all the way to Harlem. And we just kept walking it up like this is far. So I'm all this to say, New York is huge. When you go from
Huge.
Brooklyn to the Bronx to Staten Island, like everything is so far apart. And
Mhm.
I'm not used to that, in Toronto, but yeah.
And you don't even need a car.
Yeah,
You really don't,
you don't.
because I'm in Florida, and the transit system here is not great,
Yeah,
because in New York you can get a bus come by every 5 minutes,
yeah,
no big deal. Here, back then before I was driving, you have to wait 30 to 45 minutes per bus.
yeah.
It was a pain. It was a pain. So if you miss that one bus, you're like, oh, I'm gonna sit here and entertain myself until the next bus comes. And
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah,
Okay, you brought up the music. We're gonna touch on that in a minute. Like you're talking about 15, 16. But I'm trying to do the math in my head. Right now, are you like 35, 36 or something, right?
36. Just turned
36.
36 this past March.
Oh, happy belated.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. So now let's backtrack for a minute. So you're in New York and those things happen. Your parents got out of there, but you went to public school in New York then, right? What age were you?
No, no, I moved down when I was very young.
Oh, so it was young.
Yeah, yeah, I was
Okay.
very young. So I attended school most of my life in Sunrise, Florida.
Okay.
Elementary, middle, high, all of that was in Florida.
It was in Florida. Okay, so now I know you're in Florida in high school. How were your high school years, man? I like to, especially with creators, because the people that don't know you, if people are gonna watch this podcast, some people know what you do. Because I'm gonna ask you a lot today, man. We're going over today.
Fine,
I
that's
saw
fine,
I
man.
saw the short film. I don't know what you call it, a short film. Like I love your role in that
Oh,
production.
the extra man,
Oh
the
man.
extra, yeah.
Okay. So there's that and there's the music. So you're very talented. So I like to ask creators, singers, songwriters, comedians, what did you excel in high school? And did that play on anything that you're doing now?
So before I get to the high school aspect, I have to let you know that up until 7 years old, I was an only child before my sisters were born.
Okay.
So there was a huge period of time where I had to find ways to keep myself entertained.
Mhm,
So I would have action figures, and instead of just conventionally playing with action figures like somebody would normally,
mhm.
what I would do is I would create these movies, and I
Yeah.
would write the title of the movie on a paper, and then I'd flash it in front of my face, and
Yeah.
then I do the actions with the action figures as if it was a movie.
Mm.
So to me, I wasn't playing with action figures. I was creating little mini movies with toys.
Wow.
And then when I got to high school, when I discovered video production, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. I took it from there, and it was just that
Wow.
was it. Took off.
Okay. So video production. So I know that is part of your bio too. You do video editing and all that stuff. And I've seen some of your work, man. It's amazing. Would you call yourself a techie though? Before we talk about like
Oh
yeah.
man, I love tinkering and messing with the latest technology and watching all the latest tech YouTube videos.
Mm.
Always because I always want to be in the know of okay, what's the latest technology? How could I be on top of knowing how it works so I can utilize it to whatever I'm doing?
Yes. Mm.
So
Yeah.
even with the AI thing that's happening now, they have this thing called text to video where you can enter a prompt and it'll create a video just off of text.
Are you serious?
I promise you. So I know a lot of people are afraid of the AI wave and thinking they're going to take their jobs. I'm looking at it from a different perspective of how can I leverage AI to help me with what I'm doing.
Right.
So it's a lot of exciting stuff, man. Stuff that I maybe couldn't do years ago. Like for example, if you take a script and enter it into like something like ChatGPT or
Mhm,
Adobe Firefly, different pieces of software like that,
mhm.
it can generate like you could put in a script, it'll generate a storyboard for you,
Yeah.
and then you can present that storyboard to a production team, and then that's how you can get your film or whatever project you're trying to do made.
Mhm.
So
See?
it's a lot, man.
Yeah, so I'm glad you touched on that too. Because this is gonna be a great conversation. It's not only about what you do, it's talking about what's in the now, what's going on, whether it be tech, social, whatever it is. But you mentioned Chat GPT, and I understand because I was afraid of AI. I used to say people were gonna lose their jobs from when I'm 80s kid, right? So 49. I remember my marketing teacher, and if my friends are listening to this, they'll know Mr. Harding. He was accounting actually, and he used to tell us that well, one day when you go to McDonald's, you're just gonna pay by a card, and it's gonna be self-serve, and these vending machines are gonna have to. And we were looking at him like, what are you talking about? And then when he said, when you go to the gas station, you're gonna pay at the pump. He goes, you're not gonna have to go inside. And I'm telling you, early 90s, you're like trying to, because I wasn't that visionary back then. I couldn't see it, right? Now I see it being how I am now. But he was telling us things about the future that coming to fruition now. And there's one thing you said that I appreciate. So I know there's people that are afraid of AI because if it gets in the wrong hands and things like that, people use it for evil things and nefarious things. But you got to use it the way you can hone in and benefit from it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely.
yeah. So when it comes to subjects now, GQ, let me know. What did you excel in? Was it the math, the sciences, the English? Because you're a good writer and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
speak well.
So
I love the way you speak articulate. So tell me what it
thank
was in
you.
high school, man.
For me, I hated math with a passion. For me, it was between science and anything language arts related.
Mm,
Those were like my bread and butter. Like I had no issues in that, even though I kind of coasted because I was one of the students where I didn't really apply myself as much as I should have
yeah,
because I was too busy just having fun with friends and all that. And I did just the bare minimum to pass.
yeah,
Um, I was one of those kids where it's like, okay, well, I would cause issues, but then, hey, Garrett, why are you talking? Are you done with your work? I'd be like, yeah, I'm done with my work. That's why I'm talking. So it
yeah,
was
yeah.
I was so busy trying to entertain people and make people laugh. I did get my work done.
Mhm.
Once again, still I could have applied myself way more, but I was too engulfed in how can I make this person laugh and how can I entertain this person?
Yeah, yeah,
I was in entertainment mode all the time.
yeah, yeah.
So, I did just enough to pass. I went into to college for video production and learned a lot there too.
Oh, so you did
Yeah,
continue with that from high school. You went to what college did you go to?
the Art Institute,
All right, so
the Art
oh, the Art
Institute of Fort
Institute.
Lauderdale at the time. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, and then you major. I don't know what you call it in the States. Is it majored in video production? What do you call it?
yeah.
Or
I majored in video production. Yep.
okay. Wait, backtrack back to high school for a minute because the things you were saying, class clown. I was the class clown because I see some of your videos. I look forward to your videos. When you follow people, sometimes they don't come in your feed all the time. But when you come in my feed on Instagram, I'm just
Well,
waiting to press play on that because your mind is so creative with the
and
comedy. So
mhm.
were you the class clown in school too?
Yeah, yeah, I was. And I was competing with other class clowns as well. So I was always trying to find ways to not necessarily be funnier than the other class clown,
Yeah.
but to play off of them and collaborate.
Yeah.
Always keep, I always had in my mind, I want people to feel good anytime I'm around.
Hmm.
So however I can do that, if I got to make somebody laugh, heck, if I got to get in trouble and
Yeah.
may embarrass myself, if everybody else feels good about me being there,
Yeah.
I'm doing what I need to do.
Yes.
So it was to my detriment at times because even in elementary school, my grades kind of suffered a little bit, but I got myself together in middle and high.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was my main motivation. How can I make people feel good around me?
Yeah.
How can I make that person laugh? How can I make and I was always looking for like the most serious person in the room
Yeah.
because I made it a goal, like I'm gonna make that laugh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make that girl laugh.
Yeah.
So always wanting to entertain people.
Mm. Do you remember any teachers, any influential teachers that you had? Because being the class clown, I want to know too, because I did stand-up comedy. Did you ever think of going that route? One thing, did you ever think of going that route? And did you have any influential teachers that seen something in you and inspired you or helped you along the way?
Off the top of my head, I had a teacher, a fourth grade teacher. Her name was Miss Hempstead. And she was always giving me a pass on being a class clown sometimes because she knew that if given the opportunity, I will complete my work and do a good job at it.
Mhm.
So she was always checking me and letting me know, hey, okay, now is not the time for this. Do this first, then you can do all that other stuff that you want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that carried over into fifth grade. Her name was Miss Launder, and she kind of carried the same mindset that Miss Hempstead did in terms of, okay, listen, there's a time and a place for everything. Yes, I understand you want to be funny. Yes, I understand you want to make these people laugh and make everybody enjoy themselves, but you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by making all your grades suffer. And then now you're entertaining all these people, but they're getting their stuff done.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, you have the potential to stay back if you don't get your stuff done.
yeah.
So I took their advice, and I think around that time is when I kind of understood because it was a period of time where from fifth grade, getting ready to go to middle school, there was a day where they told us
Mhm.
what kids were going to go to this middle school, what kids were going to go to that. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be with all my friends going into middle school.
Yeah.
I found out it was just going to be me and two other kids going to one school, and everybody else that I've ever known
Mhm.
going to that school. So I had to start all the way over when I got to middle school in terms of building relationships.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I was like, okay, let me just do a reset. Let me make sure I focus on these things, like my fourth and fifth grade teacher told me, so that I could make sure that I'm doing things the right way. Yes, I'm getting my work done while entertaining people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yo, interesting.
yeah.
Two things I just want to touch on two things that you were saying there. First, your story kind of reminded me of Eddie Murphy because Eddie Murphy is my idol, right? I know you don't idolize people, but he's the one that made me want to get into stand up. But he told a story. I think he was on Arsenio Hall. He was on something, and he told a story where his grade four teacher, whatever teacher it was, she was like, "As long as you do your work, I'll give you time after before the bell." to do your routine or whatever, make the kids laugh. And something you said there reminded me of that, man. So it's crazy to hear that. Um, but now you seem like an extroverted person then, because I honestly I had this rapper on Osa the Healer, and he told me a word because I said I'm introverted, but I'm not really introverted like now. Like I can talk to people and da da da, but I don't like going out to parties. I'm not the guy who will engage in conversation like this. It depends who I'm talking to. But he
Yeah,
told
yeah.
me a word. He said, "This is what I am." I'm like, you're right. It's kind of like I said an introverted extrovert, and he said there was a word for it. And then I looked it up. I'm like, okay,
I'm gonna look that up too. Because
yeah.
I feel like extroverted when I know I need to be.
Mm,
Um, but I don't mind being alone. I don't mind the alone time. I don't mind being in my own head because it allows me time to plan and create
mm,
and move on to the next thing that I want to present in terms of the endeavors that I'm pursuing.
yeah. Okay. Um, and I have to ask you right now, man, up front, because I shouldn't be like this, but I'm envious of people that speak well, right? My wife speaks well, my daughter speaks well, and I'm struggling for words. So anytime I hear you speak, I'm enamored. I'm like, oh man, his vocabulary. Did you read a lot as a kid? Because people used to say to me,
Yeah.
yeah, when you read a lot, you pick up on more words and you know how to use them in conversation and blah blah blah. But I think that was my downfall. I was a TV guy. I didn't
Yeah.
like reading up, but did you read a lot as a kid?
When I was in first grade, oftentimes they would have me go to the second grade class to read to them because my reading level was that high.
Mm,
My mom and dad had me reading very, very early.
okay.
So there were times where I just had books, and even when I didn't fully know how to read, I was looking at these letters. I knew what the letter sounds made,
Mhm.
or how the letter sounds sounded. So I was just kind of forcing myself to learn how to say certain things. I was reading the like and
Yeah.
then I was corrected on certain things, and then I just took it from there. And I always made it a mission to kind of learn as much as I can reading, even if they were like Disney books.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of my vocabulary from comic books, a
Yeah.
lot from comic books because there's a lot of science stuff in there.
Mhm.
So that's where I picked up a lot of my vocabulary because my dad has like two trunks full of comics because he collected a lot of comics.
Yeah.
And that's where I got a lot of my vocabulary.
Yo, and now that you touch on that, like I had a friend that passed away, Lamin Martin. His art is like beyond this world. And I just had a family member on, my family member, Steve Bino. He is an illustrator, content creator, everything, right? He does the movie thing and all that. He was just on, so his podcast is coming on before yours. His is dropping next week. And it's almost like I should have had you guys on the same podcast
Yeah.
because he's Spider-Man from time. Like he collected comics and read comics. And I know you're a comic book guy, man. So when did you start reading? And was Spider-Man that catalyst for you, like, oh man, now that's a superhero, or was
Yeah.
it Superman?
It was no for me. It was Spider-Man. It was the X-Men, definitely,
uh,
because of the parallels that it shared with the civil rights movement.
okay.
Because Professor X was the Martin Luther King figure, and Magneto was the Malcolm X figure.
Mhm.
And Professor X wanted equality. Magneto was like, "Man, we're better than them. We could just take what we want."
Yeah.
And just watching that conflict and then watching them figure out how to make things work mission to mission was just fascinating to me.
Wow. Okay. Yo, you just touched on something there. I always wanted to know. I did. You're my 66th interview, and I don't think I ever touched on anything to do with race and race relations, anything like that. But growing up in Florida, you're 36, you know, I don't know how it is there because in Toronto, I grew up multicultural, right? Greeks, Italians, Indian, Pakistan, you name it. We're all friends and everything. But there's something that keeps hitting when I hear about the States. Can you tell me just briefly, how was it for you growing up being a black man in America from your perspective?
Um, okay, so I could share. It's crazy that I remember this. Um, I remember when I was very young, I was attending a summer camp. I was elementary school age, and a lot of the it was my mom was working at American Express at the time, and
Hmm.
they had a summer camp for the kids of the people that worked there. And attending that summer camp was probably a terrible experience because they were like, "Oh, I can't be friends with that black kid because black people are bad luck." You
Hmm.
know, I was always blamed for stuff. Oh, he took like there would be kids that stole other kids' food from their lunch boxes, and then I would be blamed, and then the
Hmm.
counselors would believe it
Hmm.
because I was the only black kid. Because everybody was against me, saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, he is the one that did it. Yeah, it's him." Even though they didn't see anything, I was always blamed for stuff. Um, so that wasn't a pleasant experience. As an older gentleman, there had been times where I remember this one time very, very distinctly. I was visiting my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. She lives in Coral Springs. I lived in Lauderhill, which is like maybe a 15-minute drive. So I'm leaving my girlfriend's house. I'm coming home. I'm getting followed by a Coral Springs cop. This guy literally followed me all the way home to Lauderhill. This is outside his jurisdiction now.
Hmm.
So I pull into the driveway. As I'm going to the front door, he drives by, rolls down his window, and I turn around and I'm like, "Sir, officer, is everything okay?" "Yes, everything is fine. I just wanted to make sure you lived here," and then drove off. So I've had my share of experiences.
Hmm.
So it's to the point, man, where anytime there's a cop driving behind me at any given time,
Hmm.
I take out my wallet, put it on the dashboard. I put everything, insurance, registration. I put everything on the dashboard just in case.
Hmm.
Turns on the lights and wants to pull me over. Everything is out already. I don't have to reach for anything because I don't want to take that risk because I've seen way too many headlines of stuff going wrong. The
Hmm.
one that really got me was the Philandra Castile one.
I
The,
know
the
it.
one
Yeah.
where, yeah, that one really, really hit home for me. So I was like, look, if I'm ever pulled over, my stuff is already going to be out.
Hmm.
So when he asks for it, I'll be like, "Sir, it's right there. Can I give it to you?" And be done with it.
Is that the one was in the passenger seat and his girlfriend, and she was
He got shot
recording?
in
Yeah.
front of his child and his girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, yeah, that one messed me up.
Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah. It's so the contrast between Canada and the States, you know what I mean? And being black. I don't let that hold me back in things I do. I always tell people I don't try and watch color all the time.
Yeah.
But then when I hear a lot of experiences in the States, like how you're telling me, it's like, yeah, these things do happen. But it's weird how I know both sides. I have family members that are police officers, and then I have friends that are police officers. And then I work with police officers in my career right now. So I see both sides. Yeah, yeah.
See, it's
Mhm.
funny you should say that because since November, I have a new job. I've been working at the state attorney's office,
Oh.
and I work. I have a hybrid position.
Mm.
Half of my time I'm spending as a multimedia specialist too, where I go into different courtrooms and set up the different equipment. But on the other half, I work in the digital evidence unit.
Oh.
So I'm one of those guys that sees all of the video evidence from everywhere: body cam footage, security footage, citizen submitted footage. We're the ones that, before it gets to the press, we're the ones that add the blurs and the little black bars just to kind of censor certain things to protect identities and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We prepare a lot of the evidence for the attorneys going into trial and stuff like that. So I see stuff every day. You'd be surprised as to some of the things that I see on a
Wow.
daily basis. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. I guess
So
so is this not your main career?
no, that's my full time job right now.
That's your full-time job right now. Okay.
That's my full time job right now. I used to work for the school system as a behavior tech,
Okay.
and that was for about 10 plus years.
Okay. Wow.
So.
You started in the workforce young then. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, now let's balance this out. So you even gave me a little hint on what you're doing now, but let's go back now. Now with your passion and drive for things that you want to do. Let's start with the music. So I is that what started first? So you were always a tech guy. I know this. You love comics. I know this and movies and you
Music
love
is something
music.
I stumbled. So music is something I stumbled upon because in middle school we had no, not middle school. Was it? Yeah, it was middle school. We had an assignment where we had to write poems. And
Okay.
once again, this is in my language arts class
Yes.
where I loved linguistics and I loved anything having to do with putting words together and presenting them. And we had an assignment where we had to do poems, like different types of poems, haikus, just the different categories of poems.
Okay.
And just for fun, I started taking my poems and just kind of rapping them to just to see how they would sound as a rap.
Okay, wait.
You
I
know,
gotta stop you there. Don't forget what you're
yeah.
saying though. What
Okay,
year are
okay.
we talking? What year is this?
Oh man. Okay, so I graduated in 2005, so it was probably 6 years before that. Oh man, I don't remember the exact year, but I was in middle school at the time. I was in sixth, seventh grade.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sixth and seventh grade is when I started writing poetry, and then that catapulted me into music because I was like, well, I could take these poems and turn them into raps. And when I was doing them, people would be like, oh, that sounds nice. And then people would blow my head up, and I was like, okay, let me write this one. Oh, let
Yeah.
me write this one. And it took off from there. And then my dad challenged me. And he was like, anybody could rap about anything, but
Mm,
I challenge you to rap and never curse,
mm.
never use profanity. Just rap and still rap in such a way that nobody cares that you're not cursing because the raps are so good.
Wow. Okay.
So from that point on, in all of my music, you will never find a curse word in any of it
Wow.
because I'm stuck to that. Then, um, around the time where I was working for a summer camp, I got into a super, super severe car accident. My dad was driving, I was in the front passenger side,
Mm,
and we were at a four-way stoplight that didn't work. This was shortly after a hurricane happened, so a lot of the power was like in and out.
mhm.
So, we treat it like a four-way stop sign. We're getting ready to drive. From what my dad describes to me, because I don't remember this part, but my dad says that we were T-boned by a big white cargo van. I
Yeah.
was knocked unconscious. Um, but if you saw the vehicle that I was in, you would swear that I was going to be dead or at the very least crippled. Um, so it was that moment that made me go, yo, listen, God got me here for a reason. There's no way conventionally anybody should have survived that. There's no other explanation but God and his protecting hands over both me and my father at that time. So from that point on, I'm like, listen, if God can do that for me, the least I can do is do music for him. So I did so all of my music has been Christian hip hop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I did a lot of Christian hip hop, and then every now and then I'll do like some mainstream stuff,
Mhm.
but still never crossed over to the territory of talking about inappropriate things like
Yeah.
cursing and killing this person. And never.
Yeah.
It was always just coming up with some type of creative way to tell some type of tale in a super rhythmic way. You
Mhm.
know,
That's amazing. Wow. Sorry to hear what happened. You didn't sustain any permanent injuries, did you, from the
I
accident
don't
first?
know.
Or
Honestly, the
did you?
only like I have some scars still from it. Basically, there was a lot of glass that got into my arm,
Mhm.
and I had to get surgery because every time I moved my arm, the glass inside my arm would slice through something. So I
Mm.
had to get elbow surgery, get every piece of glass taken out. I had glass in my lip, glass in my chin. It was bad, but
Mhm.
way, way, way better than it could have been.
Okay. And then your pops too?
So
Your
my
pops?
pops was good because my pops was here. We were hit this way.
Oh, you were hit
So
on your
he's
side.
yeah, yeah. That we were hit. We were driving this way,
Yeah.
and then the white cargo van T-boned us
Like
from my side.
T-bone. Ooh.
So
Yeah.
my dad, because my seat bumped into his, so he had a little bit of a hip injury. But for the most part, I got the brunt of it
Front of it.
on my side of the vehicle. Yeah, but
Mm,
we all walked away,
good,
so that God is good.
good, good. And yeah, it's nice to hear because I don't think I knew what style or genre of rap or hip hop that you were spitting. But what I did hear you, I think I heard you freestyle over something on Rizzle, and that's what amazed when I heard you and a couple other cats on Rizzle. That's why I had Eddie Knight. He was my first rapper
Yeah,
that I had on. But you guys are spitting over a track, and I'm like, wow, GQ, your flow is amazing. And you can also do impressions too. I don't know where that came from, but you can do impressions very well. Okay, that's the music. But I want to know though, what were you influenced by? Because you're 36, I'm 49. Even though I'm a little bit older than you still must have known where music came from when you're talking about and it derived from a lot of different genres too. Your rock and your reggae, your dancehall and everything, soul music. But we know 80s is when the hip hop rap started. What's your genre era that you came from and the kind of artist you grew up with?
my dad. Once again, I got to give a lot of credit to my dad because my dad was the my source of music listening. That's why you never really hear me talk about the Miami bass music that was here in Florida. It was never really my thing because my dad was always playing a lot of the East Coast stuff.
Yeah.
Cool Mo D and
Yes.
Melly Mel and
Yeah.
Public Enemy and like that class of people, LL Cool J, Rakim,
Mm,
from that era on is what I grew up listening to.
mhm. And I asked you that because when you said, you the poetry into the flow and you were rapping it, I wanted to know what era you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because of course we had that in the Tupacs and the Big and the Wu-Tang,
Mhm.
but
Yep.
I started losing track like 2000, like when the 50 cents came out and things like that.
Yeah, that's when it started spiraling out of control, and now you got these. Now everybody's a little this and a little that,
Yeah,
a
true.
little baby, a little Wayne, a little Bow Wow, like Lil Zane. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm
If I
good.
if I interjected right now and asked you your top five, could you let me know your top five?
Five. Okay, it's a combination of past and current.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to go Biggie,
Mm,
Rakim,
mm,
Jay Z,
mm,
Kendrick Lamar,
mm.
and Joyner Lucas.
Oh, yeah. When I heard his stuff, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's top fives are so different, man.
Now,
What
and,
would,
and the thing is, it can change at any given time.
of course.
On the spot, those are the five that jump out. But then there could be another day where I could throw in a Lupe Fiasco. I could throw in an Eminem.
Yeah.
So,
Jadakiss.
but
Yeah.
yeah, Jadakiss was a problem.
Yeah.
Jadakiss was a problem. Yeah,
What's our
the
problem?
problem, man. Yeah, man.
Oh, I hardly asked
So,
this though. What about group? Not five, but what group resonates with you right now? If you could name a top rap group that you listen to. And I'm talking about three
top,
members, five members, Wu-Tang, 15 members, who knows, right?
listen. Method Man always did it for me
Mm,
from the Wu Tang Clan.
yeah,
Because he was his delivery wasn't that conventional delivery of. I was the type of person that would always listen and see how people count their syllables and stuff like that.
yeah.
That's why I gravitated to like a Method Man or a Busta
Oh,
Rhymes.
mm,
He's a problem too. That's
yeah.
another. Oh man, I listen. What I did was I would take the Busta Rhymes songs that nobody would copy
Yeah,
because they were too hard to do, and I
yeah.
would force myself to learn how to do that,
Mm,
and then take that style, translate it to my own songs, swap out his lyrics for my lyrics, and that's how I mastered the art of doing the cadences that he does.
mm. Wow. So now even on the music, what have you put out? Have you put anything out that I know of? Because I don't know. I was trying to look for some stuff, but
I can give you the links, but I have three mixtapes and I have three albums
okay.
that are out. I'm currently quietly, secretly working on another album too
Okay.
that I'm super, super excited about because I have the beat set aside. I wrote a couple of the songs already. Um, I do rough recordings first,
Mhm.
so then I can play it over and over again and get it memorized. So then when I re-record it to do my final recording, I can do all the playful, lyrical stuff that I want to do because I'm not looking at a paper, I'm not looking at a phone because I memorized. Now I can play around with the delivery.
Okay.
So I have like a whole system where I write it, I record it, reading it, listen to that over and over again, then re-record it now that it's memorized, and then that's the one that I mix down and master and all that and put up.
So you do
I have
all
a whole
that
system.
yourself?
Yes. Now, so I started off making my own beats on back then what was called Fruity Loops.
Fruity Loops,
It
yep.
is now called FL Studio, and I always made all of my own beats. By the way, all the music stuff was self-taught. I didn't go to school for music.
Wow.
Everything I learned how to make beats just playing by ear.
Hmm.
Um, so making beats, learning how to mix and master. I learned that when my first album, I wasn't doing any of the mixing and mastering. I took that to a studio and watched the engineer do what he was doing. Then
Hmm.
shortly after that, I got a job at a Boys and Girls Club as a recording studio director, where
Hmm.
now I was the engineer teaching teenagers how to do their songs. So I ended up getting a lot of practice in between sessions where kids weren't in there. There
Yeah.
was a lot of time for me to sit there with Pro Tools and just figure it out.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So now I'm recording my own stuff. I'm learning how to mix my own stuff. I'm learning how to master my own stuff. And even that is going in the AI direction because now what you could do is you can record all of your stems and submit it to a cloud, and AI will equalize everything for you, send it back, and now you have a mix and master song.
So
So the new project that I'm working on now,
yeah.
I'm gonna mix partially, and then part of it is gonna be mixed and mastered by AI.
So okay, there's I knew this conversation was gonna be this is gonna be great. This is gonna be a great conversation. Two things I want to ask you. How
Yes,
long did
sir.
it take you to elevate to that level? So when we talk about making music, it's pen to pad for a lot of people. Some people, I was telling my last guest, I think it was my cousin, my
Yeah.
family member, um, that I never wrote down jokes. I formulated in my head and I just practiced in front of a mirror. That's how I did. I never wrote. And when you hear about Biggie not writing, Jay, whatever, but people write, and I think it's good to write. But that's the first step in getting something together, right? And then you learning how to do your cadence on the mic, learning the how close you are and the popper stopper,
Yeah.
and then you go in the booth. And then I
Yeah.
like something you said there about how you learned and you elevated to that level when you're making your music, like reading and not reading it. How long did it take you to elevate to that level?
Eventually started rapping my stuff at around 16. I feel like I got myself into a system at around, I would say 22,
Mhm.
where I was like, all right, I haven't figured out this is my system.
Okay.
And it varied because there are times where I'll have a beat and then I'll write to the beat. Then there are other times where I'll have something written and then I go and I create a beat around what I wrote.
Okay.
And then I had a weird process where what I'll do is if I am writing to a beat, I had the mindset of I don't want to just rap on this beat. I want to rap in such a way that my vocals become an additional instrument that fits like a puzzle that complements the beat so much that nobody wants to hear just the instrumental anymore. They have to hear me on it because it doesn't feel complete. So what I would do is I have a beat on repeat over and over and over again. And then I would just do gibberish because that's how I get the cadence. I'd be like, dum, 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 dum. Like I knew how I wanted to say certain things, but I didn't know what I wanted to say yet.
Mm.
So I'll just go like, dum, 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 and then I'll create like a rhythmic pattern, like a cadence pattern with X amount of syllables, and the syllables are said this way and they're said that way. And I'll record myself on the phone just doing the gibberish.
Mm.
Then I go back, I replace the gibberish with the words that fit the gibberish, and then I record it that way, and then I record it.
The process.
It's
Yo,
it's a
you
whole it's a whole thing.
you broke that down.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Interesting. So, oh my gosh. Um, so okay, so there's something you're working on now, the project you're working on, but and I'm glad you wrote that down for me. But do you remember your first track you ever recorded and spit? And do you have that?
It's so bad. Um, so okay, so it's a two-part question there because you have my first song that I ever wrote
Mm,
that I didn't record, that was just for fun.
okay.
And then I have my first official song that I recorded.
Okay.
So the first song that I ever wrote, um, it was called I didn't really have a title. I was like, um, my nickname is GQB. Yeah, that's me. Spitting mad lyrical poetry, can flow with me from the NYC. Like I was just rapping just to rap
Yeah.
with no purpose. So I think it was just me rapping about my name and where I'm from. That was like my first verse that I've ever rapped.
Mm.
But my first song that I ever recorded was a Christian version of In the Club called In the Church. Yeah. And it's if I were to play that for you right now, you would die laughing. But oh, man, it was I thought it was the dopest thing I've ever done at that time
Yeah, yeah.
because I made sure that I mimicked everything 50 Cent said, but replaced it with something clean and church
Yeah.
like. And I remember performing it at youth group events, and people
Mm.
loved it
Yeah.
because at the time, In the Club was a really popular song.
Oh,
So when I did In the Church, it was a song that people could get into feeling guilt free about it.
right,
It
right,
was a
right.
guilt free, like, oh, this is a banger, and he's not cursing. Oh,
Yeah.
so so that's what my first ever recorded song was.
Mm. Amazing. Have you ever shared that story before? You must have shared that, right?
No, this is my first time actually sharing a story
Oh,
of,
wow.
of my first ever recorded songs. Nobody really asked me what my first song was. They just said, "Hey, when did you start doing music?" and "What are you working on now?" But they
Yeah.
never really go into those deep, precise questions like
Mm.
what my first song was like you did. So
Yeah. Oh, sweet, man. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
man.
so much. We're gonna break records today, man. We're gonna break records. Because so that's some of the music. And I know you're a techie. I know you love the comics, but there's so many things that we still got to get into. I
Yeah.
think I gotta ask the AI question because there was like a two-part question. But of course, I gotta get into your clothing line. I wanted to wear those people. I bought a hoodie from you, but
Okay,
when
okay.
you wear it with the light, it's too bright, so
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
wear it. But I got
Hey,
that.
as long as you got it and you like how it feels,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I'm good.
We talked about the music, but you said something about AI and you're going to use this technology. So you went to school for what you're saying, the video,
Video.
right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I know you probably keep up to date on the latest things, but how do you tell me how you keep up? Like, how did you know about this AI feature where you can feed it whatever you're going to feed it and it come back with like, how did you find out about
So
that?
it's a combination of YouTube and TikTok because nowadays, if you want to be in the know of what's current,
Yeah.
typical news on TV is not going to do it
Mhm.
because that's hand selected headlines that they feed to the public.
Mhm.
Whereas I can go to YouTube and TikTok and look for whatever I want to look for.
Yeah.
And anytime you look for certain things that you're interested in, and this goes for YouTube and TikTok, the algorithm adjusts to what you typically look for
Right.
all the time. So anytime my feed is open on TikTok or YouTube,
Mhm.
those are the types of videos that come up. Advances in music production, advances in um, video production, advances in just tech in general.
I
because
see.
that's something that I enjoy.
Mhm.
That's always in my feed. And I'm always, because I have long drives to work, I'm always playing the stuff on my Bluetooth and just listening to what's going on. So I
Okay.
can always be on top of things.
Okay. There. Okay. Glad you explained that. Now, GQ of those people, you gotta let me know where that came from. Because you also have a podcast. You do so many things, man. But GQ those people, explain that to me.
So it's me and three, well, it started with four friends of mine. One passed away.
Oh.
But it was me and three friends of mine. We formed this group called Thoze People. And it was to kind of take the negative, um, looking for the right word, like the negative stigma that's put on, oh, those people, right? So I decided to take that and flip it and be like, no, we're those people, you know.
Mhm.
And it's supposed to highlight people that are usually disenfranchised or excluded, people that don't feel like we match to the typical standard of what the mainstream highlights as what people are supposed to be.
Okay.
So that's where that came from. And we have, well, it's kind of on a break right now because life happens.
Mhm.
We're gonna get back into it real soon, but we had a podcast called the Alternative Facts Podcast, facts spelled FAQS, which is frequently asked questions,
Yeah.
and it was just social commentary, man, just talking about things that happen on a weekly basis, like the headlines in entertainment, um, regular news, but from a creator's point of view, because we're all creators in our own right. So I did the video and audio stuff. I had a friend that does photography. I had another friend that does video. I had
Mhm.
another friend that does music. I had another friend that does marketing. So we, as a brain trust, just got together
Mhm.
and let's talk about these headlines from the perspective of a creator's point of view.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's what made the conversation interesting. And then we always ended every episode with a would you rather, which is why I'm looking forward to
Oh.
your would you rather a little later.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so
It's
that was
coming now.
dope.
It's coming now.
Yeah,
And
man.
for those people that are listening, it's those with a Z.
Those with a Z. Yep,
Right.
those with a Z.
Z.
And we're working on a lot of scripted and unscripted content coming soon.
Okay.
So definitely be on the lookout for that. We'll be coming soon with some stuff.
Sweet. And what made you start the clothing line though? Like the selling the merch with those people?
Just want to raise awareness of the brand somehow, just to keep people talking about it. Like I could talk about, oh yeah, we're those people, but to make it memorable, I had to put it on a piece of clothing. And shouts out to my father because my dad is the one that created the logo.
Hmm.
I asked my dad a favor, and my dad hooked it up because my dad, he is a interior design major,
Oh, wow. Hmm.
and he's really good with creating logos and vectors and that kind of thing. So when it came to looking for a logo, I'm like, hey, Dad, I need a logo. He's like, say no more, I got you.
Yeah.
My dad, like, I'm really, really close with my father. He's always been supportive. Well, both my parents have been supportive. My mom, who's no longer with us, but
Oh,
both of my parents have been supportive. But my dad is like the older brother I've always wanted.
wow.
So,
I
so me and my dad are close to this day.
yeah. Yeah, sorry to hear about your mom. I didn't know that. Because I see that your dad has been mentioned in the conversation a lot, and I'm like, yo, you must be close to your pops, man. So
Definitely, definitely. I give so much credit to him for a lot of the things that I'm doing, and he's been super supportive in whatever I wanted to do. Even if I changed my mind
mm,
halfway through in the path that I wanted to take, he was always supportive. So
yeah,
shouts out to him.
shout out. Yo, I'm gonna ask the would you rather question, but I gotta tell you right now, man, I'm really enjoying this conversation, man. Like it took me a while to become more like natural at this podcast. Everything comes with time, right? I write down my questions, but I gotta tell you, I haven't looked at my paper one time but to read the intro. And I don't know if people know that because that's why I wear the shades too, right? To be more comfortable and not look away. But sometimes I look at my cheat sheet, but I haven't looked at that one time.
It's a free flowing conversation.
Wow.
So
Mhm.
that's dope, man.
Now, GQ, it's time for the would you rather question, man.
Boy, okay.
Let me see what you say to this, man. Would you rather visit your younger self and give them advice for the future? Or would you rather visit your older self and have them give you advice for what's going on right now?
To visit my older self because then I can use that wisdom and apply it to everything that's taking place right now. Um, and who knows if there could be some time paradox where because I visited my older self, the wisdom that I now carry from talking to my older self can go and tell the younger self what he knows.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So it's like a whole time paradox situation because the concern with going back in the past and telling my younger self anything is I don't know if this is one of those time paradoxes where if I tell myself some things that I know now, that will change the trajectory of what my life is going to become. So with my life currently as is now, I would want to talk to my older self so that I can keep myself on track, but not make any further mistakes from this point.
wow. That was good perspective. Wow, that was good. Good explanation too. I like that. I could tell how you think too. Very creative. Um, okay. Now, whether you chose your younger self or your older self, this is to do with your younger self. And there's four questions. What would you tell your younger self about money?
Ooh, I would tell my younger self, stop splurging, stop worrying about instant gratification, and make investments to better prepare you for having a more comfortable future. Because the stuff that I know now, I really wish I would have like I wish I would have known that the stock would be this valuable. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like I would if I knew that if I just invested in these things, where that would have grown and how and what I could do with those kind of funds for my family now. Oh man,
I'm telling you.
forget it.
Yo, gee, when you mentioned that, I had this, someone said the same thing, on the same lines. And we got into conversation about it. And man, if someone told me about stocks back in the days, right? Like the Amazon, and if you knew,
Yeah.
man, to invest in that stuff at the time when it was like under $10, $20,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the IPO was at the time. But it's crazy how you could just you could have been rich easy. You know what I mean? Just wait a
Mm-hmm.
couple 10 years, boom.
Yep.
One thing I was gonna say too, though, because we were talking about it too, I was talking about with another guest, was we're living in the now. Tell me if you see where I'm going with this, right? So in the late 70s and 80s, hockey cards, right? We used to
Mm-hmm.
put them in our spokes. So Wayne Gretzky, all these cards that are valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
We
they
use them
make
to
the
make
noise.
motorcycle sounds on the
Yeah,
bike. Yeah.
but then you don't know 20 years later, these are valuable cards and you have them in the package. I have a good friend that saves comic books, Chucky dolls in the package, all these things that you can't get. Cabbage Patch Kids, like you can't get these things now, like the way the original, right? But of course, you can find them on. But tell me if you know where I'm going. In the now, right now, there's things that we can be doing, or even young kids that can be doing to have a great nest egg investment in the future. What's your thoughts on that? And did you save anything from back in the day? Even coins and dollar bills, things that are worth money and they're gonna be valuable. What's your thoughts on that?
It's funny that you should say that because like your friend, my dad still has those trunks of comics. And we actually spoke recently saying that, one of these days we're going to go through them and figure out, um, the value of some of the comics that are still in its packaging with the little white cardboard piece behind it
Yeah,
to
yeah,
keep it. Yeah, he has two trunks full of them. So we're definitely gonna go through them and make some decisions.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, interesting. And sometimes you don't even know what you're sitting on. Like there could be some worth. Okay.
yeah,
What would you tell your younger self about family?
priority. Family, make sure family is priority, and make sure that um, in any given situation, you should probably be the first person they think of calling when it comes to help or advice. Because it's a crazy world out there. It's a crazy world out there, and sometimes you don't know who you're putting your trust into,
Mhm.
and you think you're going in a good direction, and then in the end, that person could lead you down the path that you shouldn't have gone down in the first place.
Mhm.
And to prevent that from happening, to always be there, so then that way they're not looking for somebody to fill that void. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think try to be as supportive as you try to be as supportive as you can with relatives and family members, so that they always know that if no one else, they could always rely on you.
Preach. So true. So true. Okay. And speaking of family, before I hit the last two, you're married and you have a son, right? How
Yes,
old is your
yes.
son now?
He's 5. He just turned 5 in November.
November,
Now,
November what?
November 17th.
Oh, I always like to know. I'm second November. I always like to know.
Yeah. So now that's a story in itself too, because okay, so let me backtrack.
Hmm.
Um 2017 is the year that I got married I got married in January, but then in November, my mother, because my mother had issues with diabetes,
Hmm.
um, so she was on medications and different things like that. She she went her and my dad went on their first ever honeymoon ever
Wow.
since me and my sisters have been born. They finally went on their first honeymoon. It was a cruise with the Royal Caribbean. It was like a full week thing, and then the last 2 days, my mom got really really sick.
Hmm.
The last day of the cruise. When she got back here in Fort Lauderdale, she passed away unexpected. And once again, there was no preparation for this. We were thinking, mom was going to come back. We would talk to her about how the vacation was, and how much fun her and dad had. But she passed away November 12th. 5 days later, my son was born 3 months premature. So, and this is all happening in the same hospital. So the same hallway that I had to walk down to find out that my mom was gone is the same hallway I had to walk down to meet up with my wife to do the emergency delivery of my son, because there was a breach.
Hmm.
So while I'm in the middle of grieving my mom, now I'm like, oh my God, is my wife gonna make it? Oh my God, is my son gonna make it? Um, and God was good because they both made it. Um, he was supposed to be born in February. He was born in November. He was born less than an ounce. Um, it was a tough time because I had to jump from losing my mom straight into fatherhood.
Yeah.
But once again, God is good because He is healthy. He's running around. He's climbing stuff, and
Yeah.
he's playing. And just the other day, so I was playing in his room. I was playing his keyboard. I played like Mary Had a Little Lamb, just messing around. I leave the room. We hear him hitting the keys, like he was looking for some keys or whatever. All of a sudden, he finds a key and mimics Mary Had a Little Lamb. I just played it. He didn't see me play it. I just played it. He heard the keys, went to the keyboard, looked for the keys that I touched, and played Mary Had a Little Lamb back. Me and my wife were like, huh? So then my wife took the phone, walked in, and recorded it. So we
Mhm.
have proof
Yeah.
that it actually happened because nobody would believe us just by us telling the story.
Yeah.
Man, so now that we see that he's taking a liking to that kind of thing, oh, you're getting the music lessons. Oh, every single one of them.
Oh man, that is a
So,
story. That was a
but
story.
yeah, man.
Um, yeah.
So I'm married. My wife I actually met in high school. She
Mm,
was when I first met her. She was a sophomore. I was a freshman,
mm.
and I always had a crush on her, but never went beyond friends. Because I'm like, what she want with a freshman like me?
Yeah.
Fast forward, we're married. So
Yeah, yeah.
so you see how that worked out. But yeah, man. So
Oh,
I got a beautiful wife. We've been married 6 years now.
yes.
6 years now, and we got a 5 year old.
Sweet, man. Yeah, I seen the post of your beautiful son and wife. I seen them and I was like, oh man, because I didn't know that when we started talking on that Rizzle app. I didn't know. And then you share when I add you on Instagram, then I saw some more pictures. I'm, oh, this is amazing, man. Amazing. One thing I gotta tell I appreciate about you too, man. You you always reach out. It was K Touch that I was gonna talk about. Kevin Touch, man. He does something every like Christmas, New Year's. He reaches out to me personally and wishes me well wishes for the upcoming year and things like that. But you're another person that is always good. Sometimes I'm in certain feelings or emotions or whatever, just busy in life. And then when you get things from someone, it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like you told me Happy Father's Day the other day. You did it the year before too. You said Merry Christmas. You said you reach out to me, man. And we hardly know each other. And I like this, man. You know, we're internet friends. I don't know what you call it, social friends, but we always chat on Instagram when we can. And I just appreciate it, G. Appreciate it.
Something that I would have liked done for me. So I've always been taught to treat people the way I want to be treated. So
Yeah, sweet. Okay, two more to go. This is gonna be interesting. What would you tell your younger self about friends?
what I would tell my younger self about friends is don't worry about having a lot of,
Mm,
only focus on having loyal, close friends. It's more important to have a few close, loyal friends than a wave of acquaintances
mm.
because that's when you get to find out who's really for you. So I would say don't worry about the quantity of friends. Worry about the quality of friends that you have.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. And now, lastly, what would you tell your younger self about love?
What I would tell my younger self about love is don't don't go looking for love and don't force love. Love is something that just happens at the time that it's supposed to happen. If it's effortless, it's meant to be. That's what I say.
Nice. Good. You got through that. That was nice. It's so nice to hear the different perspectives and what people have to say. And it really draws on their experiences in life. When I hear the answers, I can tell they've been through certain things too,
Yeah.
and how they answer that. Now, we're touching on so much now. One thing I just want to like wrap up on is we're not going to finish the podcast yet, but your podcast. So you mentioned it,
Yeah.
those people. Like, when did you start it? Like, and how many episodes did you guys do so
We
far?
got to we got to 75.
Mhm.
But then we had a lot of life stuff happen. Like one of my friends moved. Another one of my friends just got a son. Another one lives kind of far away. So we're thinking of resuming and just kind of doing it on online format because the way we did our podcast, we were together in person.
Okay. Yes.
Because then it was like the format of the podcast was you're sitting in the room with some friends and just eavesdropping on conversation. That was kind of like how the podcast was going to go.
Mhm.
And every now and then we would do a podcast where we're doing it online.
Mhm.
And then we would do it live, and then we would have some interaction from the live chat and all that. But I really like the feeling of, or giving people the feeling of just sitting in the room with the boys and just listening to them talk and joke around, and then shoot ideas back and
Okay.
you're just kind of like that fly on the wall,
Yeah.
enjoying the conversation. You
Yeah.
know,
Good concept. And in person, and it was called what was it called again?
it was called the Alternative
The
Facts
Alternative Fact.
Podcast. Yeah,
Okay. And now, since you're probably like me, you have it on Spotify. It's on
yeah.
YouTube too, right? You want people to
Mhm.
go watch it too,
Yep.
right?
Yes, yes. And I had something else that wasn't really quite a podcast, but it was an unscripted show that I'm probably going to be packaging to some networks, called The Final Three. I'll
Okay.
send you the links for that. I can guarantee you're going to enjoy watching those. It was basically, the concept of one gotta go. We have like a list of things that one got. Like you have four things that one gotta
Oh,
go.
okay.
Like you have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
eliminate.
Yeah.
So we came up with this thing where we have a list of things in a particular category, and we have to debate and debate and debate until there's only three things left on the board, and those will be the final three.
Ooh.
And no matter it doesn't matter how short or long the debate took,
Mhm.
we have to eliminate things from the list until there's only thing on that list. And it's really interesting watching how strongly somebody feels about one particular. I'll give you an example. Sketch comedy shows.
Yeah.
So we on the list we had In Living Color,
Mhm.
Mad TV,
Mhm.
Saturday Night Live,
Mhm.
Key and Peele,
Mhm.
The Chappelle Show.
Okay.
And we had to go back and forth to figure out, okay, what's the final three? They're like, oh, but I like this show. Oh, we have all that on there too. All that was on there too. Um, and it was very interesting listening to the reasoning behind. No, 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 we got to keep this on the list because of X, Y, and Z. No, we got to keep this on the list because it would always go back and forth. And then by the time end of the discussion takes place, we've come to a conclusion on what the final three would be, and it's never boring,
Wow.
never boring. So we did one season of it.
Mhm.
I'm tentatively working on the next season, in a different format, which I'm working on with my friends to figure out how it's going to work. But once that gets ready to get released, I'm definitely gonna let you know so you can be in the know.
Mhm.
Um, so we're working on that, and we're probably gonna relaunch two other podcasts. One of them is gonna be called "Are You Not Entertained?" where we focus on just entertainment based news. I
Mhm.
have another podcast coming out with a cousin of mine. His name is Justin, and it's gonna be called Just Cuz.
Oh, wow.
And we're just gonna be talking about just random topics. And then every now and then we'll have another family member or cousin joining on the conversation because that'll be like more like family based discussions.
Mhm.
And then I have another podcast that I'm going to resume with him and Robbie Whitaker. I don't know if you remember Robbie Whitaker from Rizzle.
No, I don't actually.
Um, it was called the Tinfoil Hats, where we discussed conspiracy theory.
Okay.
And I think ADHD Bandit was another one. So there was the four of us that were going to do the conspiracy based discussions. So we're
Yeah.
going to be relaunching that really soon. But I'm trying to get organized with a couple of things.
Mhm.
I'm trying to lock down the music situation. Working on some scripts for some scripted content. So it's just, I'm just trying to do everything in an organized manner. I don't want to do everything at once because I know that you're never going to get anything done that way. So I'm doing one thing at a time. Right now, I'm trying to wrap up on the music, then I'll jump back onto the other things.
Mhm. So
So
how
so
do you
that's why
keep
a little bit of a pause.
but how do you keep that balance, G? So you you're doing so many things and you're working and you have the family. How do
Sometimes
you
I'm
keep
doing it on the job. Sometimes in between like breaks or lulls in uh stuff at the job,
Mhm.
like the little down periods where I'm not doing anything, I focus on my those people stuff.
Okay. Yeah, you
So
know what I noticed? I always try and make use of every minute of the day,
mhm.
especially when it comes to my personal things, whether it be a post I gotta put up, whether it be a teaser I got to do for an interview I just did, and reach out to this person and connect and do that. So yeah, I try and make every minute. It seems like you do the same thing as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the last things I want to talk about though is the short. Do you call it a short film? Short
Yeah,
film.
yeah, short film. Yeah, I would say that, like short form content.
Yeah. Tell me about
Yeah.
that. The casting part of it, because I was very interested. I was so attentive when I was watching this. You were in, I don't know if you were in the swampland or when it started in a car with your girl. Tell me about the casting for that. Like, and who do you know the person that made the short film and your
Yes.
experience?
So actually, shouts out to a friend of Mitchell Grosvenor, who was actually one of those people.
Mhm.
He's a photographer. He had a friend that was doing a short film, and the original person that was supposed to be that part dropped out. So I was actually a switch in for
Oh,
that particular role. Yeah. So
okay.
it was a last minute change. And fortunately, everything worked out. So
Yeah.
now I'm in contact with that filmmaking team,
Mhm.
and there's more stuff to come in the future.
Wait, can you tell the people the name of that and the role you played and what synopsis of what it
So
was about?
the name of the movie was the short film. It was called Obi,
Yes.
and so basically, I played the boyfriend of a girl that does voodoo, and something happens to me, and she goes and gets revenge for it. So that's the synopsis.
That's it. Yeah. Yo, it's still on YouTube, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, because I'm actually gonna link to that, man. I got that was interesting to watch.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
was fun, man. That was really fun. I had nothing to do with the scripts. I was switched in as an actor last minute, and now I'm in contact with them, and now we'll be doing more projects in the future.
Sweet. Okay, before I get into this real talk question, let the people know what you're working on now. So I know you're touching on the music. You're doing a lot of things, but what do you want to share with the people that are listening or watching?
So right now, um, I'm working on an album, and it's titled "It's About Time." It has a double meaning. The first meaning is it's about time to come out with another album because it's been so long since my last,
Mhm.
which is kind of the surface level meaning. But the underlying meaning behind that is we are all given an allotted amount of time on this earth. What are we gonna do with the time that we're given? So that's the basis of the album. Me just talking about, okay, I'm given this time and I'm gonna do this. What are you gonna do with your time? How are you gonna make the world a better place with the time that you have on this earth?
Amazing. Yo, do you sleep at night? Or
I try to.
is it
I
always
try to. I try to, man. But between the ideas and
yeah.
then my son sometimes keeping me up because he don't like sleeping too much.
Mhm.
I figure out a way to get some Z's in. So
Yeah. I the last thing I want to ask you though, are you like me? So I asked that for a reason too, because you seem like an idea guy. You're creative, brainstorming, everything. But do you ever get hit with something where it's like, yo, this is gonna be a smash, whether it be music or content or a post or something funny? Do you ever get hit in the middle of the night and you have to get up and write something down or whatever?
yeah, yeah. That happened before with my third album where I thought I was done with the project. And then I just had a last minute idea for a song. And I'm like, I was originally gonna be like, I'll put it on the next album, but no, I gotta put it on this one.
Yeah.
So I made the beat, recorded the song within an hour,
Mm.
made the beat, recorded the song within an hour, then re-recorded it to another beat because my dad was like, that beat is cool, but what about this beat? And I'm like, ooh. So I recorded to that one, and
Yeah.
yeah, man. So that worked out. That worked out.
Sweet, sweet. And before I ask this question, the content that you put on your gram, like I already know if you're gonna put something comical, like I already know it's gonna be funny. Like you always start off say
Thank
talking
you.
about something, and I'm like, what's the punchline? Because when I finally get there, Like you crack me up. So some of the content you put on IG that's comical, comical, where does it come from? Because I love what
No,
you share.
it literally comes from me scrolling through my feed. I see something ridiculous,
Yeah.
and all the thoughts that are coming to my head while I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, no, I'm going to record exactly what I feel about this post that I just saw
Yeah.
and share it with everybody else and why I think this particular post is ridiculous. It's a lot of observational comedy that I do.
Yeah.
Like I'll
Yeah.
see something and be like, okay, you see this? Let me tell you why this. So that's something that I enjoy doing. I
All
love
right.
doing it.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Now the real talk question. Blue Jays or Raptors? Let me read it out to you. Which one are you choosing?
We'll go Blue Jays.
What is one of the most memorable moments of your life?
Yeah. Oh man, there's a few. There's a few. I can't even pinpoint just one. There's quite a few. There's the day that my wife walked down the aisle. There was the day that I looked into my son's eyes for the first time. Because especially with that, not knowing if he was gonna make it, and then to look at him and see that he was fine,
Mhm.
I'll go with those two. When my wife walked down the aisle and looking at my son's eyes for the first time.
And you know what I like about having your own podcast is there's no right or wrong answer. Some people, I had one person say to me, what's the other? Oh, she was a painter. And she said, what's the other one? Because I don't think she wanted to answer the one. And I'm like, there's no rules. Some people say they have more than one memory. Like I'm share it, share it. So I'm glad you said that. Okay, thanks for sharing. The last thing we're doing, G, before we go, we're gonna see who I'm donating to for episode. This is season 7, episode. I did this before. Hold on, man. Hold on.
Now
5.
listen, if it's season 7, episode 7,
It's crazy.
I'm floored because
I
7 is my number, bro.
bro, I think it is.
That's crazy.
So 5 was Celebrity, the rapper. 6 was my cousin. You're 7. Season 7, episode 7.
Crazy. That's crazy.
All right.
Wow.
Let's see who I'm donating to. Am I popping the
Boy,
left, the middle, or the right?
we're gonna go with we're gonna go with the hand with one balloon.
Right. And the charities or causes that I'm donating to season 7 is Claws, Kawartha Lakes Animal Wellness Society, Make a Wish Foundation, and the Fundraiser Warriors. Let's
Right?
go. Star Scorpio will be donating too. Oh, this
Oh man, tell
is
me what it is.
3 times the Fundraiser Warriors. 4 little boys that raise money for a lot of causes, especially
Okay.
sick kids hospital. Amazing. Gee, this was amazing. Great podcast. We finally got it done.
Got it. We got it done, man.
Yeah. Let the people know where they can find you before we sign off.
So all of my tags on TikTok and on Instagram, GQ of THOZEPPL. GQ of those people, but people is abbreviated. So GQ of those people, GQTHOZE. I'm sorry, GQ of THOZEPPL.
PPL. Yes. All right. Thank you again. Real Talk with Star Scorpio, and we out.